What's up, guys? It's Jacob with the Degenerate Gambling Life, and we have a really good episode for you guys today. Starting off, we're going to be looking at the first two rounds of a CBS Sports Dynasty startup Superflex mock draft. In the first round, they have Mahomes, Allen, Stroud, Hurts, Jackson, and Burrow as the top six picks. I think the top six makes a lot of sense. Just to unpack a little bit here, I think the top tier in Dynasty right now is Allen and Mahomes. Personally, I would go Allen, but I understand if you go Mahomes. And after that, I think there's a clear second tier of QBs in Stroud, Hurts, Jackson, and Burrow. And I'm really fine with those guys in any order, but I prefer Stroud in that group. At pick 7 is where I think it starts getting a little bit interesting. That's where I'm thinking get the best wide receiver and go for positional advantage. If I'm picking at 7, I would much rather have Justin Jefferson or CeeDee Lamb than the 7th best quarterback available. But obviously, you need to be flexible here. If a couple wide receivers go off the board early, if someone in your league doesn't really know how to play Dynasty and they take, say, a running back early on, then adapt here. Take the quarterback that falls to you. But if not, go Justin Jefferson. Look for a guy in the second round like Jordan Love or Trevor Lawrence, and then grab your QB2 in the third. Obviously, be adaptable. But I think that is a good general strategy. In this mock draft, they have Kyler going at 7, which I love Kyler as the player, but I think that's way too high. You can be getting value elsewhere, and he probably should be a second-round pick or late first-round pick. At 8, they have Caleb Williams, which I wouldn't make that pick here, but Justin Jefferson's still on the board, but I like that pick more than Kyler. At 9, they have Anthony Richardson, which is, again, a player I absolutely love, but I'm not taking him over the top 2 wide receivers. I really like Richardson for the future, and I would take him over Murray as well. At 10 and 11 in this mock draft, we get the first receivers to come off the board, which I think is excellent value. And this is, again, just a good lesson in being adaptable. Maybe you go into the draft targeting some players, but then if some guys fall to you that you don't expect to be there, you got to just snag up that value. And then at 12 in this mock draft, they have Dak Prescott, which just kind of leaves me shaking my head. I don't like to clown on picks, but this is an absolutely terrible pick. I would not be taking Dak Prescott in any format of fantasy football, especially dynasty formats. He really should be more of a fourth-round pick, and I'm not taking him over Love, Herbert, Daniels, Lawrence, Purdy, or Tua. It's just a really bad pick that I can't get behind at 12. Then turning to the second round in this mock draft, Jay redeems himself by taking Jamar Chase at 13. I think this is excellent value. Chase should be a first-rounder in dynasty formats. And then at 14, 15, and 16, we have Herbert, Robinson, and Love come off the board. I think all these picks are great values. Herbert should probably be a late first-round pick, even though I don't love that situation this year. And Robinson is, I think, the only running back who should be going in the first round. Obviously, with Jordan Love, he was a top 5 quarterback last year. He's in a very good young offense, so I love that pick here. And then if we look at the rest of the second round, I think all these guys get pretty good value with their picks. Daniels at 17 may be a little high, but I do love the talent, and I won't blame anyone for taking him there. I think Amon-Ra at 20 is excellent value, and Purdy at 21 may be a little bit high, but he was a QB6 last year, so I don't think it's that bad. And I think Hall and Gibbs are solid value at the end of round 2. Just in closing, when it comes to running backs, there's really only 3 or 4 guys that should be going in the top 2 rounds, and those guys are Robinson, Gibbs, Hall, and Jonathan Taylor. I prefer waiting until round 5 to go running back, as there's a lot of great value in the mid-rounds of these dynasty startup drafts. In the early rounds in general, you should be focusing on drafting players whose value will go up, and usually that's going to be quarterbacks and wide receivers.
Okay, for this week's fantasy player debate, we have Ezekiel Elliott, Dallas Cowboys. At the pros, there's actually a few good ones. First up, he has the backfield completely to himself. He should get all the lion's share of the carries and the goal line work. Second, when Ramondre Stevenson was out last year, he actually was a top 15 running back those weeks, so maybe he'll do it again. And finally, he is going to be very, very, very cheap in drafts. All right, Kevin, take it away with the cons.
Man, those points were so good, Josh, that for a second I thought you were actually a Cowboys fan, seeing as you live in Texas, but I forgot you're a Packers fan. With that being said, there's a lot of reasons to like Ezekiel Elliott, but there's even better reasons to dislike him. The first and foremost reason, he's a ninth-year running back returning to his former team that he played on for a long time. Usually, that's a favor that the team does for the player. Not necessarily a favor, but they just don't have very good production. They're kind of tailing off at the end of their career. Maybe they're going there to retire. So I don't think Elliott's going to be that workhorse running back that we saw in the earlier part of his career. He has still proven in the last few years that he can handle the rock and handle a decent workload. I just don't think that's what the Cowboys have in mind. Which, on to my next point. On Monday this week, head coach Mike McCarthy came out and said that the Cowboys are going to approach the running back position as a running back by committee. Those are the dreaded words in fantasy football that you never want to hear for your running back. RBBC. You do not want to hear that. And it doesn't bode well for Ezekiel Elliott. Plus, his main competition is from Rico Dowdle because they didn't really draft anyone or bring in anyone else other than Zeke himself. And Rico Dowdle looked good last year. He didn't look like a superstar, but I think the Cowboys have plans for him. I'd expect both Dowdle and Zeke to be in that 8 to 15 touch range every week, maybe with a slight nod to Zeke. But I think he's going to have a hard time putting up big numbers with 12 to 15 touches. So sorry, Joshua. I know you really wanted him to pan out, but Zeke's not going to be the guy this year. Sorry.
Excuse me, sir. Would you like another hot take?
Yeah, definitely. Keep them coming.
Okay, let's go ahead and jump into a few hot takes. First up, Garrett Cole, pitcher, New York Yankees. He had his third bullpen session, and he is only hitting 89 on the radar gun. For someone that consistently is in the mid 90s and can reach the upper 90s, that's not really good. I'm going to predict it right now. Garrett Cole, you're going to need Tommy John, and wish you had done it earlier than later, because that's going to really hurt us for next season too. Next, Liverpool. They will empty the clip for Mbappe. They're going to be starting a whole new stage with them losing Klopp. I think they'll go ahead and let Salah go to the Saudi League and get a crazy amount of money, which they should turn around and then spend that to get Mbappe. Please, oh please let that happen. And finally, the Pirates. They have something special in Paul Skeens. Don't ruin him. Yankees do a Jabba. Mark Pryor with the Cubs. I watched that game, and he should have came out in the fourth inning. You could tell he is extra amped, and he was nearing the end. Run him out there for the fifth to try to get that win. You don't need to do that, all right? Take him out. Keep his confidence up. Do not ruin him, Pittsburgh Pirates.
Thanks, Josh. Let's preface my hot take by saying congratulations to Jared Goff on your 4-year, $212 million extension, becoming the highest paid quarterback in the Detroit Lions franchise history. $170 million of it is guaranteed. You deserve it. You did make a run to the NFC Championship, and the team kind of choked. I wouldn't necessarily put it on you, but the whole team as a whole kind of choked that one away at the end to the Niners. However, you guys will not be returning to the NFC Championship game. I don't even know if you're going to win the NFC North. I mean, Jordan Love and the Packers, they're probably going to be a little better than they were last year. You got the Bears making big moves, big free agent moves. Obviously, their draft picks. They had the number 1 overall pick in Caleb Williams. The Vikings are probably going to be the worst team in that division, but still a solid squad. So you're going to have a battle all year long. And who says if you do win the division? I just don't see a run happening. I just do not see it. So Detroit, back to mediocrity for you. Take it away, Jacob.
Thanks, Jordan. And my hot take for the week is that the Denver Nuggets are still the team to beat in the NBA playoffs. I love the team that Minnesota is building, and I think it's refreshing to see Anthony Edwards really becoming a dominant force in the league. But at the end of the day, despite the great defense that Minnesota can play, I do think that if Jokic stays healthy, the Nuggets are going to be very, very tough to knock out in a 7-game series. If Aaron Gordon keeps playing out of his mind like he did in Game 4, I think the West is going to produce this year's champion, and I think that team is going to be the Denver Nuggets.
Thanks, Jacob. I agree. I think Jokic is just going to be too good to stop. But my hot take, I'm going to switch back to the NFL. My hot take of the week, out of all the rookie wide receivers, we had Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, and Odunze as this top 3 clear tier. Well, my hot take is that none of those 3 are going to finish number 1 in receiving yards as a rookie wide receiver. It's going to be someone else. I have a few guys that I'm targeting, and I'm going to keep those a secret for now. But if you keep watching, I will reveal those on a later video. But the big 3 receivers will not finish number 1 as a rookie wide receiver in fantasy.
This is a poker hand I played at TCH Social in Las Colinas, Texas. In this hand, a loose player opened under the gun to $15. The MP called, and I called on the button with King 6 of clubs, and both the blinds came along as well. So we go 5 ways to a flop, which comes King, Queen, 7 with 2 diamonds. Action now checks to the under the gun player, and he bets very small for $10. The MP calls, and when action is on me, I call here. I don't think raising really accomplishes anything, as we have one of the worst top pairs available. So I do make the call, and then the big blind calls as well. The turn is an offsuit 5. Now the under the gun player goes all in for $75. Action folds to me, and I think versus a loose wild player like this, I have an easy call. So I call, and the big blind again calls as well. So now the river comes in offsuit 3. The big blind checks, and here I'm happy to check back, as I probably can't get value from worse, as I'm only beating King 4 and King Deuce now, which I don't think are in my opponent's range. So I check back, and we are good versus a busted flush draw and 8-6 offsuit. This is another hand I played from the same session. Action folded to me, and I opened in the cutoff with Ace 7 of diamonds. The small blind and the straddle called, and we go to a flop 3 ways, which came Ace, Jack, Deuce, Rainbow. Action checks to me, and I bet $20, and both players make the call. The turn comes the 8 of clubs, bringing in a flush draw. Action checks to me again, and I could go either way here between betting or checking, but both these players were pretty loose, and if they're going to have flush draws here, I need to charge them if they want to continue. So I make it $60 to go, and this time both players fold, and we end up scooping the pot without having to sweat the river.
Okay, let's go ahead and jump into a few poker hands. We are playing 1-2 at Windstar. It limps to me, and I look down at 5-4 offsuit in the big blind. I check. So we go 7 ways to a flop. The flop is the 4 of clubs, the 6 of hearts, and the 8 of hearts. I lead for $18, trying to clear some of the players that might have overcards, and 2 people call. The turn is the 4 of spades. Love it, thinking now I got the best hand for sure, so I bet for $43, and only the middle position calls. The river, the jack of diamonds, the straight really miss, the flush mitts, so I bet for $71, and middle position calls. I show my trip fours, believing it's going to be the best, and he shows 5-7 offsuit for a flop straight. He wins, and he just called all the way down. I really am shocked that he did not raise me on the flop or the turn, but good for him for getting max value. How would you guys have played that hand? Okay, so this hand happened during the first orbit of a brand new table, so all the starting stacks are about the same. We're playing 1-2 at Windstar, and I'm in the cutoff, and I look down at pocket kings. I raise to $13, and of course we get 3 callers because it's Texas players. The flop is the 2 of clubs, the 6 of spades, the 9 of spades. Blind now leads out for $35. The low jack calls. I think about it, if I just call, I got about a pot-sized bet behind and really want to go ahead and get some of the hands out. So I rip it all in, and the big blind snap calls and low jack folds. I'm hating this because he should have all the sets with him just calling. The turn is the queen of clubs, and the river is the 4 of clubs. I show my pocket kings. The big blind now shows that he had a massive draw with ace deuce of spades, and we scoop, avoiding him hitting a spade, another 2, or an ace for the win.
All right, welcome to Miller Time. My name is Kevin Miller with The Degenerate Gambling Life. And on this week's episode, I'm going to cover some more best ball stacks to target. I know on last week's episode, if you guys tuned in, I did cover my first wave of best ball stacks to target for each portion of the draft. And I'm going to go over some more of those with you today. All right, if you're targeting a stack early in your draft, the Philadelphia Eagles are the perfect choice. We've seen in the past few years they've been an elite offense. And I did a draft a couple days ago where I used my first 4 picks on A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, and Devonta Smith. And you kind of have to have a late round pick to do this because Barkley and Brown are not going to fall to you if you have an early pick. But you can literally start your draft with any 3 of these 4 or all 4 if you really want a super stack. And I think you'll be in really good shape. Next, in the early to mid portion of the draft, the Green Bay Packers make for a really good stack. Josh Jacobs is coming off the board in round 3 or 4, as well as Jaden Reed in round 5 or 6, And then shortly after that, you have Jordan Love and the rest of his receivers going later in the draft. So it's kind of an early to mid stack, but I think you could get Jacobs, Love, and then pick your receiver of choice, or you could just go Jaden Reed, Jordan Love, and Christian Watson, something like that. And I think that the Packers are really looking to explode this year, and you can really take advantage of that with their price right now. Third, if you get to the middle portion of your draft, I think the Jacksonville Jaguars make for a really good stack. Travis Etienne is their running back. He's going in round 3 to 4, right before that dead zone starts. And then after that, you don't have to take a Jaguar until you get towards Brian Thomas and Evan Ingram in round 7 or 8. And even Trevor Lawrence is coming off barely as a QB1 near that round 10, 11 turn. And, Christian Kirk's in that mix as well, of course. He's coming off in round 6 or 7. So I think the Jaguars are a great stack to target in the middle of your draft. Now, rest assured, if you missed your early stacks, that's what the later portion of your draft is for, to shore up your stacks, to get some good depth where you're weak. And I think the Los Angeles Chargers are a great mid to late stack. Lad McConkey is one of my biggest targets this year, and if you compare him with Herbert, as well as one other Charger, pick which running back you think it's going to be, whether it's Edwards, Dobbins, or the rookie Vidal, or you could take a later round flyer on any of those receivers. I think the Chargers are a nice, sneaky stack. Just don't go too overboard because it's, kind of been known that Harborough and Roman like to run the ball, and I'm not expecting a ton of passing here, but I still think you could stack them and have success. Finally, later in the draft, the Cleveland Browns do make sense. You have a lot of value. Nick Chubb, who's usually a second-round player, is going in the 9th or 10th round coming off a major injury. And I think if you just grab Cooper in round 4 or 5, the rest of them are practically free. Deshaun Watson's going in round 11 or 12. Njoku's going just a little bit before him. If you don't want to take Cooper, you could literally just wait and grab Jerry Jeudy or Elijah Moore. They're practically free. I literally keep getting Elijah Moore in around 19 or 20 on DraftKings, and he had over 100 targets last year. I think even with Jeudy signing and getting a bunch of money, he's still going to get targeted. So the Cleveland Browns make for a great late stack. Just to recap that real quick, early in the draft, look at the Philadelphia Eagles. In the middle portions, look for the Packers and the Jaguars, and if you miss out on those, go for the Chargers or the Browns. Those are my stacks, part 2. Let me know if you think I left anything out, if I missed a team, or if any of these teams are going to suck. And as always, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We will see you next time. Miller time out.
Soccer hooligans.
Welcome back to another edition of the Added Minutes with your boy Jordan Tennis. We are coming to a close for the club seasons, but not to worry, there's plenty of action going on this summer with MLS. We have Euros, we have Copa America, which the U.S. will be hosting this year and they will be a part of, so there's still plenty to come. But this is what is happening in the English Premier League. Arsenal and Man City are battling it out for the top spot. City has a game in hand. They played earlier today, so I'm not sure what's going on with that one. They're playing Tottenham, or they played Tottenham by the time this is going to air. So City's either going to be in first after this, or they're going to be 1 point behind Arsenal. We will see what happens there. Further down, Liverpool pretty much has 3rd place locked up. Aston Villa has 4th place locked up. Here's where things get interesting. Tottenham, who, like I said, played earlier today against Man City. We don't know the score or what happened. We don't know what happened. Sorry for that. We don't know what happened because this was previously recorded. But Tottenham, Newcastle, and Chelsea are all in line to possibly take 5th place. Tottenham right now has it pretty locked up. If they got either a win or a draw earlier today against Man City, they're taking 5th place, and then it's down to Newcastle, Chelsea, and Man United to battle out for 6th and 7th for those Conference League spots. Now, 7th place will get a Conference League spot in the Premier League if Man United does not win the FA Cup against Manchester City. So we'll have to see what happens there, but as one of my buddies said the other day, Man City always a lock to get trophies, so we'll see how the Manchester Derby goes in the FA Cup final. Elsewhere in Germany, we have Bayer Leverkusen. They need 3 more wins to complete a perfect treble. They have not lost in the Bundesliga all season. They got one more game in the Bundesliga. They have one more game in the DFB Pokal, which is the domestic German tournament. They have not lost in that one. And they have the Europa League final as well, which they have not lost in the Europa League. So if they can win those three, it will be quite the incredible feat. I hope you guys have a good week. Take it easy.
All right, I hope you're excited to talk a little fantasy baseball. We got two players for you to look at on the waiver wire. First up, it's Eddie Rosario on the Washington Nationals. He's an outfielder that's available in 78% of leagues. Now, for the season, he's player 429. You're going, yuck. That's what we talked about last video. You need to be looking at 30 days and 14 days so you don't just see the season numbers. For the last 2 weeks, he's been player number 8. In that time frame, he's giving you 11 runs, 4 home runs, 7 RBIs, 4 stolen bases, and a 357 batting average. So this is a guy that gives you home runs, steals, runs. It's someone that you should look to play. The Nationals are looking to see what they have, and this could be a player that really helps you down the stretch to make it to the playoffs. So look at him. Next, we have Abraham Toro, Oakland Athletics. Last year, we could say Oakland Athletics. Kind of sad. He gives you availability at second base and third base. He's available in 59% of leagues. He's player 66 for the last month and player 15 for the last 2 weeks. Over that time span, he's given you 16 runs, 3 home runs, 14 RBIs, 1 stolen base, and a 324 batting average. The A's actually putting it together a little bit, so they have some viable players. Don't think just because someone's on the Nationals or the A's that you can't play them and you only look for stacked offenses like the Phillies. These are undervalued gems that can definitely help you win. And again, just watch them. If they start to go through a really bad cold streak, like 10 days, drop them and move on. So those are your waiver wire players for this week. All right. Thank you all guys so much for watching to the end. If you haven't yet, please hit that like, comment, and subscribe button. We really appreciate it. Few things coming up. We'll be in Vegas June 6th through the 10th. Hit us up. We'll watch some games and be playing poker. We're going to have a meetup game June 8th at 1 p.m. at Mandalay Bay. Hopefully all you guys are running great during the World Series of Poker during that time. And we'll be teaming up with the Southern Poker Tour to have 2 meetup games in Shreveport while they're running their tournament June 19th through the 23rd. We'll have a meetup game that Friday and Saturday. Jacob will be there. I'll be there. A few others from the DGL team. We'll have some merch that we'll be giving away along with some baseball cards. So come up, say hi, and enjoy the time we're there. Also, if you haven't yet, please go to our website and check out our store, which is live now, and get yourself some DGL gear or for someone special in your life. Again, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you guys next week.